confidentiality agreements, you're not allowed to disclose who they are. I wanted to say that.
If it's not in the public, it's not something we can discuss.
Okay, well, you say the same issues do not apply. Prenups don't apply, things like that don't apply, just because they're celebrities?
Prenups absolutely apply to celebrities, of course.
Married or not?
Married or not.
Okay. So moving right
I'm sorry,
along.
but the issue is they're not married, so they don't have a prenuptial agreement we're really dealing with here. It's just an issue.
Mostly custody. Okay, Tiger Woods, you heard us talking earlier about the details of what happened. But if indeed they do get divorced, does adultery still count, and does it matter whether it's 1 or 30?
I think it's 14.
14. I'm prone to exaggerate.
This is the biggest question I actually get from clients when they come in, which is they ask, well, she slept with the tennis pro, he slept with his secretary, don't I get more now because of it? And the answer is really no. Courts don't care about these issues. Almost invariably, it doesn't have anything to do with how we divide their money. If it doesn't affect the financial issues of the case, the court just doesn't care.
What about the prenup moving forward, okay? Because we still, obviously, Elin and Tiger had a prenup. It, like you said, doesn't include any sort of affairs, extramarital behavior. What, going forward, is going to happen to the prenup? Will there be a penalty clause in there if one does say, prove to be, you know, acting in a way that's not trustworthy or cheating? What's going to happen now? Will those clauses be in prenups going forward?
People sign prenups and then they never seem to matter anyway.
Well, I think this
Right?
situation is actually very interesting because a prenuptial agreement will cover all of their finances, but it can't address the issue of the children. Who has custody of the children, what the child support is going to be. So this is the crack that we really have now for Elin in the prenuptial agreement. If I were advising Elin, I would say, okay, these are still unresolved issues. Even if there is a confidentiality clause in the prenuptial agreement, nothing's going to prevent her from going to court to litigate those issues, and I think that's the last thing Tiger Woods wants is a big public...
Can she get more than the prenup?
I think this is her in here to say, I can litigate this issue of custody, and you don't want that, you want your previously squeaky clean image to be rehabilitated, and a public trial is going to be the worst thing.
Okay, where should she file? Because they have houses in Barbados, in California, and Sweden, all over the place.
Well, if they have a prenuptial agreement on the finances, it really isn't going to make much of a difference. That's going to cover it. But also there are strict rules out there as to where you can in terms of custody because...
But isn't California split down the middle? It's community property there.
But if you have a prenuptial agreement, you're going to work outside the community property.
Can she get 50%?
She can in terms of, as I said, she has a negotiating tool here, and it may be worth it to Tiger to say, I mean, there's reports already out there saying that she got $300 million already. I mean,
what's the biggest piece of advice you give your high-profile celebrity client?
I think the first thing you have to tell them, if they have children, what can we do that's, let's keep them in mind throughout this entire process, okay? What's going to be the best thing for them so they get on the other side of this as easily as possible. I think next is you have the most to lose here. You're the one in the public eye. If you can get out of this quickly, quietly, you do that.
Okay.
Then I like to surround them with a bunch of good advisors and move forward from there.
Well, you were talking about the children, what's in the best interest of the children. So after 2 years of denial, former presidential candidate John Edwards, he admitted that he had a child with his mistress, Rielle Hunter. So now that there's talk of that his wife, Elizabeth Edwards, and he are living apart, but they're filing for divorce. So what does she stand to get if they go through a divorce?
Well, Elizabeth, in 2008, during the campaign, he reported that his net worth was around $29.5 million. So I think she stands to get about $15 million because in North Carolina, the law is basically that it's a 50-50 distribution unless you can show that it's inequitable for your wife to get that. And I think the last thing that John Edwards is going to do here is say this cancer-stricken woman who stood by him isn't entitled to half my money.
Cancer-stricken woman. Young children, Emma who's 11 and Jack who's 9, and she has, we have heard, incurable cancer. Who gets the custody?
Well,
that's a really,
people,
we forget about these children.
When people talk about custody, they forget that there's two components to custody. One is who makes decisions for the children, and two is where do they live. In terms of decision making, just because he's a complete and utter jerk in terms of who he decides to sleep with, I think he's probably still capable of making joint decisions with her about where the kids go to school, who their doctors are, treatment, those types of things. In terms of where they live, I haven't heard right now that she's so sick that she can't care for them. I would suspect that they're going to live with her for a period of time, primarily.
I think her anger might be keeping her alive.
But is Riel entitled to any of this money? Riel Hunter? She's got his baby.
It's going to be the reasonable needs of the child. It all depends. We saw with Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, that they got $20,000 a month. We'll see what reasonable is here.
Yeah. Wow, this is whew. All right, Paul Telbert, thank you so much for coming and thank you for giving us this information. It is so interesting. We're going to be right back. Wow.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. I was blind, but now I'm.
A song by Paul Beckman, Palu Rainbow Song, created January 15th, 2010, using the guitar chords C7, F, and G. The song is going to be called People and Their Careers. People and their careers get it going. People and their careers, they get a rolling. We'll roll along to your fruition. We'll bear that fruit. I can't wait for you to dish out my reward. Like the fruit in a fruit basket. Well, give me my reward now for all the work I've done now. Where's my career going? Oh, let me see now. Career, let me see now. Oh, well, dear, 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 dear. Oh, when it gets rolling, well, when it gets going, your career it can really go off the top. It can really sail and bop. I know you want it to go there. You don't want it to suffer. Where's your career going now? Oh, going now. Oh, going